Hi folks, Toad here with Visordown.com, and today is a little bit of a special day because this is the first time that I've set eyes on the prototype for Triumph's first ever electric motorcycle. We've got a series of interviews coming up where we're going to be interviewing the key people who are involved in this project, but there's something that I just need to let you know before we get into that properly. This isn't, what you can see in front of you isn't the bike that you're going to be able to buy when Triumph launch their electric bike. What this is a prototype, a test mule, if you like, and it's allowing Triumph and Triumph's partners in this project, who we're going to be speaking to very, very shortly, to try and work out what the best solutions are for the electric motorcycle world and how they can go forward. So this is the Triumph TE-1. We're at the Triumph Factory Visitor Experience in Hinckley. Let's get on with the interviews. Hi folks, so we are here with Steve Sargent from Triumph. If you've seen Visordown's YouTube channel, you know that we chat to Steve quite a lot when Triumph have got a new project coming in. Thank you very much for having us along, and as we can see, these are some sort of design concept pictures of what the TE-1 could look like once it's completed. Is that correct?
Or will look like.
Will look like. But just to reiterate, this isn't, you know, the bike that's going to be landing in Triumph's dealerships as the first electric bike that you're going to be able to go out and buy. This is effectively the test mule, the prototyping stage, and it's all going to be done on this platform. So thank you very much for having me along. As I said, I've got a few questions for you actually. When I speak to you previously, and when Triumph are launching a new motorcycle, whatever it is, you always go out there and you sort of say to me that you investigate and you ride other bikes, you evaluate other models in the segment. So have you already done that with the electric sector? Have you been out there on all the other bikes that are out there?
So we have, but it's not been like when we develop other bikes. What we do is we go out and we test all of the competition and we say, okay, where do we need to compete against these bikes in this segment, and you know, where can Triumph have an advantage over this, and where do we maybe need to be comparable on that. That's not really been the case with this project. What we've really started with is talking to the customers to understand what their basic needs are in terms of their riding experience, what kind of riding they like doing, how long they want to ride for, you know, how often do they stop, what kind of times do they want to spend having a coffee maybe whilst the bike like this is recharging. And the focus has been more on what kind of bike would we need to get somebody off of a petrol engine motorcycle onto an electric bike. So we've ridden those bikes just to understand where the marketplace is, but that hasn't been the objective. The objective has been, how can we create an electric bike that does what we do today in a petrol engine bike?
Right, okay. So are you, with this TE-1 project, I'm leaving my notes already behind, but with this TE-1, are you, who's in your crosshairs? Is it the people who already own a petrol bike? And I know you're going to be targeting everyone because you want to sell as many bikes as possible. Is it people who already ride petrol bikes? Is it electric bike enthusiasts? Because that's kind of like becoming a whole new niche. Who is it? Who do you want? Or is it existing Triumph owners who've already got a speed triple or a street triple who want an electric bike?
So it's kind of all of those things in a way. So it's all of those people who are either already into electric bikes or curious about electric bikes, or who we think could be converted onto an electric bike in the future. So, you know, as with pretty much any product that we do, what we're looking at is what is the size of the market, what do those people want, how can we satisfy their needs. So it's not a question of we're just going after people who already ride electric bikes, because quite honestly that's quite a small niche right now, and that's almost certainly not viable to make a business out of selling just to those guys. So you've got to be looking at people who are either curious about whether electric could be something for them, or people for whom in the future you think they could be persuaded onto an electric bike.
Okay, cool. Where do you think electric bikes need to be to sort of win over the affections of the public? You've seen the comments on social media whenever Visordown posts an image of an electric motorcycle. You probably see the comments that come up. Where do you think electric bikes need to be to really start eating into petrol bike sales in a more substantial way?
Well, they have to be something that, you know, the likes of me and you want to ride for a starter, and then on top of that, it has to be something that people are willing to pay for. So
not just something people want to ride, something that people want to buy.
Yeah, people want to buy because,
you
know, quite honestly, you can see some of the electric bikes out there, the pricing of them is substantially higher than what you would pay for a comparable performance out of a petrol motorcycle. And you know, we've done our research in terms of what people genuinely are willing to pay for an electric bike over a petrol engine bike.
Yeah.
And it's certainly not as much as the premium that some of those guys are currently having to pay.
Naming no names. So obviously Triumph has been building petrol-powered motorcycles for a very, very long time. This is going to be the first fully electric, sort of full-size motorcycle that Triumph has ever built. How important was it for you to sort of partner with people like Williams Advanced Engineering and Integral Powertrain? How important, how vital is that? I mean, putting it literally, could you have done this on your own?
I mean, clearly it's a completely new skill set. We have, you know, a whole bunch of young, bright engineers just down the road here, you know, who know petrol engines inside out. If I go to those guys and say, look guys, I'm wanting to develop an 1160cc triple engine, you know, how much power and torque do you think you can get out of that? Very quickly they'll come back to me with an answer and they'll say, yeah, and I think what we need to do is we need to have this kind of bore-stroke relationship, we need to have this kind of, you know, gears on it and all that kind of stuff. This is completely new technology to us. Now, we do have guys working for us who've worked on electric projects in the past, so we do have some of that knowledge, but in terms of that real detailed, in-depth knowledge in terms of how do you get the maximum power density in a battery, you know, how do you get that motor as small, light and as compact as it can possibly be, then you've got to work with people who've done that before.
Yeah.
You know, if you started to kind of build that knowledge from the ground up, that would be a much longer process. So it makes a lot of logical sense, particularly when you're kind of developing a prototype that's all about building that capability and building that knowledge. It makes sense to partner with people who know what they're talking about.
And you started at the top, really. I mean, we've got Formula E, we've got Pikes Peak, IDR. This is the sort of background in technology, and some of the numbers that are being sort of bandied around, 177 odd PS or something like that.
You got to start talking in kilowatts now. So
I don't understand them.
130 kilowatts.
It's like when people say inches, it just goes straight over my head. Just give me in centimeters. So yeah, 177 PS. That's a lot of power.
Yeah. So if you think the new Speed Triple that's just come out is 180 PS, obviously, you know, that's by far the most powerful Speed Triple we've ever made. The first electric bike that we're putting out there as a prototype will effectively have the same kind of level of performance.
I can't wait for the electric Rocket 3. So Kawasaki have got their Endeavour project, which is it's been undergoing track testing for what seems like quite a long time now. We've got Honda have got the CRE, their enduro bike. We've got Harley Davidson have brought out their Livewire. Seems that a lot of people are jumping on the electric. A lot of internal combustion engine manufacturers are jumping on electric at this time. Do you feel that you're joining at the right time, or are you a little bit late to the party? Would you have rather been here a little bit sooner?
I think the key thing is to have an understanding of at what point is the market going to be viable where you can actually make money out of selling an electric motorcycle.
Okay.
Obviously, you know, Triumph as a company compared to some of those guys, you know, your Kawasaki Heavy Industries are a massive, massive organization. Your Hondas of this world, massive, massive organization. BMW, massive, massive organization. So in terms of a company of this size, we have to be very, very careful in terms of how we spend our R&D money and make sure that we're spending it on something that has a prospect of being a commercial vehicle. So for us, having taken all those things into consideration and really understood at what point in time do we need to start to get under the skin of what an electric Triumph might be, we think that now is the right time for us.
Okay. So this is the TE-1. There are going to be obviously other prototypes further down the line. I mean, can you give our viewers a rough idea of how long the production process is obviously going to be long, and the prototyping and testing stage is going to go on for quite a long time. Roughly how long is it before we're going to see an actual production version of Triumph's first ever electric motorcycle?
So if we start with this prototype, obviously, as we've said, this is all about kind of developing the understanding and the capability and the technology. This is being built into a mule bike right now, down in our workshop just down the road. I had a look at it yesterday. Looks gorgeous.
How close to that is it?
It is very, very close to that.
Okay.
You'll definitely recognise it from the images that you see here. October, that will be out doing testing with Triumph test riders on it. hoping to have a go myself at some point. And then the objective is we will use that really to develop all of the control systems, because obviously what we know about things like traction control on a petrol engine bike, completely different on an electric motorcycle, completely different strategies. You've got regenerative braking in here as well, so that's another thing that you've got to put into the equation that we've got to understand and figure out, well, how does that impact the chassis dynamics? How does it impact just the regular mechanical braking? So there's a whole bunch of stuff that we need to learn internally on this bike. We're hoping then, probably in the spring next year, hoping to get guys like yourself out on it, give you guys a go to try it.
Ready to go.
And the whole purpose of that is really to get that kind of feedback, get that understanding, and then start to think about, okay, where do we take it from here in terms of developing our understanding further. In terms of when something like this might come to market, we're not going to make any commitments on that. As I said, for us as a company, it's all about at what point in time do we think the market is going to be of a size where this is commercially viable.
And then when that happens, it's kind of waiting in the wings, ready to
that's it. It is all about building up that capability within Triumph so that we're ready at the right time.
Okay, excellent. Listen, that's been great. I've probably had you for longer than I was allowed to, so thanks.
No worries.
Thank you very much for talking to us, Steve, and thank you very much for watching, guys. Cheers.